Welcome to Evolve Through God. My name is Angela Goodman, and I am blown away by the guest you are about to listen to. His name is Dr. David Shapiro. He has an amazing story. He started out in the Jewish faith, as a matter of fact, and he has all kinds of twists and turns through his walk with God. And I had several moments in this podcast where I felt the Spirit with us during the conversation, complete just chills going through while he was telling his story and some of the things that he had to say. Wow. I still am blown away. So that being said, one of the things that I love most about this episode, and I hope you will listen to it till the end, is he gives you some tips for being able to actually provide forgiveness. And 3 tips for that. They are so good. And if you're struggling at all forgiving anyone, you definitely want to make sure that you check out and you listen to this entire episode. It's so great. Absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for listening, and we're going to bring in the episode. Welcome to Evolve Through God. My name is Angela Goodman. I am the host of this show and likely many more to come. Today I've got with me Dave Shapiro, and Dave and I don't know each other at all. We met through a Facebook group for Christian podcasters, I think. And yep. I'm excited to hear all about Dave's story, and I know he's got a really good one, guys. So pay close attention to what Dave's got to tell us today. So welcome, Dave. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Angela. Don't pay too close attention. If I mess up, ignore that part. But yeah, I'm excited to share today.
Oh my goodness. There is no reason why we shouldn't pay lots of close attention to you. That's too funny. So Dave, I usually kick off the guest story with, just an understanding of how you came to know God. But if there's a part of your story to talk about before then, I'm going to open the floor and we'll get rolling.
Yeah, it actually starts pretty far back. The when I found God comes after a whole lot of life of not knowing him. But I was actually born and raised Orthodox Jewish in New York. And I was raised in a temple, and I was also born dyslexic. So trying to learn everything in secular school, trying to learn everything in Hebrew school, having dyslexia just became really challenging. I wasn't really connecting with the people at temple, the men that were studying the Torah. I wasn't really connecting well because I couldn't understand the stories. I couldn't read. So that caused an issue. And plus, I wasn't the greatest student, I think, because of dyslexia. I have a quick story. I didn't want to go to Hebrew school, so I ran and put a sign on the door of the temple that said, "We're closed today, no school," just in case my mom went and checked. And then I went home. I said, "Hey, they closed school today." So I wasn't a great student.
Oh my gosh, that's that. I have to pause at that to allow everybody to just absorb that. So how old were you?
I was probably 7 or 8.
Okay, so at 7 or 8 years old, you concocted a story to tell your mom that school was closed because you posted a sign on the door saying it was closed. So
just in case she went and checked on me to see if it was true.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm going to tell you, I love that. For those listeners who are unfamiliar with the customs in Hebrew school, talk to us just for a second about what Hebrew school entails, so that they can really have an understanding. You talked about it a little bit, but when you can't read English and you have to learn Hebrew, right?
Yeah, so this is an Orthodox Hebrew school. This was not Reformed Hebrew school. So Orthodox is fully in Hebrew. They are teaching you the scriptures in Hebrew in class. They're teaching you the prayers. They're having you pray 3 times a day. There's a mikveh involved as you get older. There is getting prepared for your bar mitzvah, learning all the traditions, learning the holidays. It is honestly just about as many hours as secular school. is when you go to Hebrew school. So you are spending a lot of time just learning about what it is to be Jewish and what we believe, and that's, I mean,
And so
I'm talking.
the Torah, as you're learning the Torah, reading the Torah, it's in Hebrew or it's translated to
It's
English?
in Hebrew, but what's funny is you actually don't read the Torah until you are bar mitzvahed. You read prayer books, something called a Siddur, to get a Torah. So, I have a Bible now, obviously, and you'll hear that story of when I became a Christian, but they don't have Torahs to hand out. Torah scrolls, Orthodox, and I came from something called Ashkenazi. They're about $50,000 to $60,000 each. So
Wow.
this isn't something that you hand. This is a scroll that's handwritten by somebody, typically a rabbi
Wow.
or a scribe. So it's not as if you're handed the Torah and you even know what it says. You are handed a prayer book. You're taught the history of it. But when you hear the Torah read, or when it is brought out, it's always at temple. It's at shul time, where the rabbi has it.
Hmm. Wow. Okay.
So it's
I
a
did
lot of
not know that.
reverence.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Wow. Okay, so I way interrupted your story.
No, you're
So you
good.
just to catch people up and give them a little more context. Um, so you're going to school, you're dyslexic, you're trying to learn, you are trying to be a part of that community, and then
And failing on all fronts.
okay.
So I just decided that it really wasn't for me. It wasn't something that I was connecting with God. I figured this is really great for everybody else, but it wasn't for me. And at the same time, not feeling secure about who I was, I really just kind of tried to disprove Judaism and became an atheist. I said, well, if
How old were you at
God's
this
not for
point?
me, I was probably around 14,
Okay.
15.
Okay.
I was at secular school learning about science. I said, hey, this goes against everything that I was taught. So when you start reading about, Darwin's theories and evolution, and I'm going, okay, this is great. This goes against where I was being taught at Temple, and I can feel better about myself knowing that I didn't connect with God because people were wrong and not because there was something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, maybe they're just using God as a way to feel better, have comfort. But I didn't need him. And in fact, I was going to set out to prove that he didn't exist by living my own life.
Okay.
And I think what I did was what a lot of people do is I'm going to live a good life, a life that I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be nice to people around me. That's going to be my saving grace if there happens to be anything afterwards, but I really don't think there is. But if there is, being nice is good enough. God will understand. And that's how I led my life when I was older teen into my 20s.
I mean, that's
And
pretty, I mean, that's pretty deep thought for a teenage boy.
yes.
Like that's pretty deep thought for a teenage boy to think, okay, well, if I just live my life and I do the right things, and even though there's no God, maybe if there is a God at some point in time, I figure that out, then I'll be okay. I mean,
I
that's
wish I
pretty
could
deep
say it's
thought for a
depth. I
teenage
wish I
boy.
could say it was depth. It wasn't depth. It was protection,
Yeah.
and it was me doing everything I could to make myself feel better.
Mm-hmm.
As I don't know if you could tell, but I am covered in ink.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is if I covered myself up, you would see the ink and not the person. And I turned into somebody who just didn't have a lot of self-love, was trying to protect myself in every way, and ended up actually getting into the military and getting into professional fighting. I was going to train my body. That was something that made sense to me. My brain wasn't working the way it should, so I was going to build my body up, and I was going to become this great fighter and this person who was going to be able to push forward with the physical because the mental was just slower.
Yeah.
And I did
Wow.
that successfully for years. I was a pro fighter for 13 years and I did well and I was happy and at least I thought I was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I silenced my pain with noise is what I did. I got into extreme sports, skydiving, things like that, because
Mm.
anything that was going to silence the noise was perfect. And that's what I did. And very successfully. Like I said, I didn't realize that I wasn't filled with anything. I just filled my life with noise.
So you, at
Um,
this point in your life, your late 20s, early
yep,
30s-ish. So at this point in your life, you have relatively to no connection, you believe, with our creator.
none, absolutely
Okay.
none. Now there are moments where I can look back and I go, man, he was
Hmm.
leaving little signals here and there, but at that moment I didn't see them. I didn't want to see them. And then my mother had gotten very sick. She was sick probably from the time I was in my mid 20s until my early 30s. And it was almost 10 years where she was terminal cancer, where they said, look,
Wow.
she's really sick. At any point, she's going to pass. And she didn't. And she lasted for 10 years almost. And at the last year, I mean, last week, not last year, last week of her life, this Jewish woman accepted Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. She
Wow.
was watching preachers online.
Wow.
She
My whole body just lit up. Just
it
lit
was
up.
in,
Yeah.
I did not understand what was going on. Again, I chalked it up to she's just reaching out for comfort somewhere, but I couldn't explain it because for 10 years she might have been looking for that comfort. So why the last week of her life, I didn't have an explanation for it.
Yeah.
And it still didn't turn me to Jesus. I still didn't believe anything. I lost my mom. I felt sad about it, and I kind of moved on, going, okay, that was strange, but I'm not going to think too heavily.
Do you know now why she was able to find him in the last week of her life?
I have no clue.
So you don't have,
She
you just know that she did, she told you she did, but you don't know what transpired between her and Jesus at that point in order for her
Correct.
to
I
find.
was coming home. She was watching preachers. She was talking about a lot, and I just thought it was very strange.
Okay.
I didn't understand it, and I didn't want to understand it. Honestly, I wasn't interested in why she was. Just
Hmm.
I just thought this was very odd, and it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And how old was she
And
when she passed?
she was, let's see, she would have been 62.
Okay, so she was young.
Hmm.
Young.
She was young. Yeah, she had had terminal cancer in all through her 50s.
Okay. I'm just making some notes. These
No,
things
you're
always
good.
on. Okay, so you this happens, you don't really understand why, and then
Nope.
what do you do?
And it was years later, not days, not weeks, not months. It was years later where it wasn't even a thought in my brain. I woke up one morning and I just had a conviction. There was no dream. There was nothing. I just woke up and said, I think I need to go to church, not temple. I felt like I needed to go to church, and I'd never really been. I didn't know what it was like. I just looked on Google and I found the closest one to my house.
Hmm.
And it ended up being a church that I walked into. I felt very uncomfortable. I went to sneak in, sit in the back. I mean, at this point, I'm an ex-Jewish person who was a fighter, who's covered in tattoos. There was no way I felt accepted there. I didn't like who I was in my own skin. I mean, it was the most horrible feeling ever. And there I
You were
am in the
getting
back.
exercised. You were
Yeah.
getting exercised.
I I mean, it was just horrible. And then the pastor started to talk, and one part of my story I didn't really talk about was I had a very hard father. He was abusive. He was very hard to grow up with, and the pastor started with your heavenly Father who loves you, and it just took my breath away. And I go, "What do you mean? There's a Father who loves you?" And I never felt that. I've never heard that. And to be honest, I don't know if I remember anything else he said. I just held my breath and I felt like that was for me. It was too odd that what are the odds that that was the word he was going to say that I needed to hear?
Hmm.
And when I stepped out, there was a different pastor there and he asked who I was. And I told him, I said, this is my past. This is my story. And he said, have you ever had a Bible? And I said, no. He goes, here's a Bible. Start with Matthew. This was a Jewish person. You will connect with it. This is the New Testament. Just start with that. Next week, come back and let's talk about it. I took the Bible. I went home. Didn't think anything of it, except there was no way I was going to read this. I couldn't read well anyway, but I wasn't going to be, I wasn't going to be cruel about it. So I just took it. And I ended up opening up that night and I started reading. And I went back the next week and he said, hey, how far did you get? And I said, I read the entire Bible. He said, what? I said, I read it from cover to cover. I understood everything it said. This was a God thing. In 1 week, I took off from work and I read the entire Bible, and
Wow.
everything made sense. And it was the most amazing thing. And this is the part of the story where everyone's like, oh man, God healed you. I go, no, he didn't. He healed me for 1 week because now I use a dyslexic Bible to actually read because I can't do it again. It was literally, he was going to show me this miracle for 1 week.
Mhm.
And it was the most amazing moment of my life. And I just loved everything about it. And I ended up reading the Bible, again, a dyslexic Bible that I got, but I read two more times in 3 months. I read the Bible three times, one time in a week and the other two in 2.5
Wow.
months. I
Wow.
could not put it down. This was everything that I knew as a child, and then what happens next. And all of the questions that I had were answered. And it was just the most incredible story that I'd ever read. And I had to go again and again. And then ended up going back to school. And going to school, I mean, I failed out of school. So going back was not something that was ever on my bucket list.
So you were, by this point in time, you were what, in your mid to late 30s at
I'm
this?
in my probably mid 30s at this
Okay.
point.
Going back to school to get your high school.
Nope. So my high school, I graduated. My
You
college, I
did.
didn't.
Okay. Okay.
And I tried to go to college several times, failed out of three different schools over the course of 15 years,
Hmm.
failed out, could not pass it. And I went back for biblical studies
Hmm.
and I got my bachelor's. And then I went for my master's in biblical archaeology. And then I just graduated my doctorate in religious education. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So, I mean, literally, again, God was like, okay, let me show off in your life and show you what you can do.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, this was a God thing.
And so what was your doctorate? What did you study in for your doctorate? What did you do?
So for my doctorate, I ended up doing, so I was studying religious education, but I did the why Jewish people rejected Christ.
That's, I mean, could it be any more perfect?
I know. I know. And I was,
Did you
I
have
mean,
any idea that you were going to, like, how did that, I want to hear how that came to be.
it, I will tell you something funny that all throughout my schooling, multiple people, including my wife, would be like, hey, why are you going for this? What's the end result? And I said, I don't know. I just want to learn more about him and I feel convicted. And then I went to, biblical archaeology, and it was, why are you going this route? It's really not a very packed class. Not a lot of people go for this. And you don't want to be an archaeologist. So what are you doing? I have no idea. I'm just convicted. And then when I went for my doctorate, same thing. And when I was looking at different subjects, the only thing that spoke to me was I want to talk to other people just like me
Mm,
who, on one sense, has dyslexia, where I can teach how to teach them better. And on the other side, somebody who is of Jewish or heritage that
mhm,
I can talk to and say, look at what we're missing. Look at all of this incredible proof and evidence and life and answer and prophecy that we're missing.
mhm. Yeah. And now, we are all best equipped to help the person we used to be, right? And that's just an
Yeah.
example of that. And I do seem to recall that earlier we discussed the fact that you were an atheist. So is that next?
Yes.
Are you going to go? Are you going to go? Are you going to go there and start? Because I would love, oh my gosh, the author is escaping my brain, who was an atheist. He was in England. It's going to hit me in a minute. He wrote many books about that after he found Christ.
Okay.
So tell me, are you going to do that yourself?
So I am currently writing a book. I'm writing several books, but
Okay.
my area jumping into right now, I would say evangelism with apologetics. I'm trying to blend the two together, which I think have been separated by people. I think they're studying one or the other. They go, hey, I love apologetics and I want to prove and I want to have a linear idea of why this is what it is. And you learn one thing and then another and another, and it all builds. Where with me, that doesn't work for my brain because of dyslexia. What works for me are stories and representations. So if you blend the two together, a great story I have of this is I started debating people. When I became a Christian, I was like, I'm going to debate everybody and prove that, Jesus is the one. And I remember I debated somebody who, I mean, I was really just blasting on them when they were asking a question about evil. And I felt so good. I said, man, I have all the right answers and I feel so good. And it was about me answering it correctly, not about Jesus at this point.
Right.
And the person left, and my friend came to me and said, do you know why he asked you that? I said, no. He said, because he just lost his mother. And I mean, all of the joy drained out of me. And I realized that I'm doing it wrong, that somebody doesn't want an answer. They want a hug. They're not
Yeah.
disbelieving because of the facts. They're disbelieving because they haven't felt the goodness of God.
Yeah.
And I just had that moment of, man, I messed up and I need to do this better. And so I started to try to train myself to have these conversations in a better way.
I love that. I love that. In those moments that we have, and we all have them, right? Where something happens in your life and you question why. Why did it have to happen that way? Um, you know, Oftentimes people are put in our lives to tell us why it happened that way. And so he was looking for the answer. You were the person to deliver. And without all the information, sometimes we just get our signal crossed in the
Yeah.
delivery. Doesn't mean what you told him was wrong. Doesn't mean what you said was wrong. Doesn't mean anything was wrong. But to your point, we've got to meet people where they are.
Yes.
And in that moment, that was the only piece that was missing. You were just not meeting him where he was.
Yep. And it's a huge component of the people side that I think that sometimes scholars and apologists miss, and not on purpose. They love what they do. They love the Lord. They're trying to do the best work. But I think sometimes we miss the mark because we're so focused on the answer that we forget that there's a questioner.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. That's such a great point. And more people definitely need to hear that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about what are you doing today? What is the work you're focused on now? And give us an idea like how you maintain your connection with God.
Absolutely. So my work today, I'm kind of I'm everywhere and all for Jesus, and I love it. So I'm writing several books at the same time. One's being published and should be coming out within the next 60 to 90 days. Okay. And that's going to be an apologetics book from the perspective of a Jewish person. So that's going to be really, really incredible. I also have another one coming down the line called The Pharisee I Didn't See. And that's about all the mistakes that we make when we become a Christian, all the legalism, all the traditions we still follow that we think is the name of Christ, or really it's the name of ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that. And then there's going to be a one that's going to be my testimony book that will come out. And that one will be a little bit behind that. And that one will be From the Torah to the Tomb. And that's my story of where I came from. And then the apologetics book, the one coming out in 2 to 3 months, that's called Unshakable.
Okay.
So I'm working on those. I constantly write blogs, papers, just try to get the word out to as many people as I can about who Jesus is and who I was and what God did to me. And I work with a men's group. I work with a young adults group. I do some care as well. So I do some counseling sessions with people, some biblical counseling. So I'm kind of a little bit of everywhere, which I love. Yeah. It's never a dull day. It's never the same. I also have my own podcast that I run with 2 other gentlemen. So we are kind of all over the place. And as far as connecting with God, it's very interesting because I tell people all the time, I spent almost 11 years back in school, and people thought I'd be so connected because I was a pastor and I was connecting with God all the time in my classes. And I realized that I wasn't. I was connecting on a level of I wanted to learn for a test, for a paper, and I wasn't just spending time with him. And this is something that comes from the previous part of my life of the noise. And what I realized was the noise was to cover up his voice. The silence is where I live now. And what I tell people is in between your test and your testimony is a moment of silence. And you get to choose, is it going to become my testimony or am I become bitter? And it's in the silence that I now live happily, always choosing the testimony, always choosing Jesus, and really appreciating him for the silence that I get now. It's no longer painful to live with myself. It is a wonderful moment to live with, the way that God made me and understanding he made me for a purpose and loving that purpose. So
Yeah.
I love living the silence. And that's now where I spend most of my time when it's with God.
I love that. I love that. So what is your routine look like? Do you have routines around your connection time with God? Why are you laughing?
I should, because I'm an ex-military guy and we love routines and schedules.
You don't have to
Um,
love routines just because you were in the military.
all of us military guys do. We love
Yeah.
routines, we love schedules, but I don't really thrive on routines in that way.
Mhm.
So I don't have like a 7 a.m. time with God every day. I will tell you that I still wake up very early. I'm still up by 4:35 in the morning. I used to spend a lot of that time studying for school, and now I just spend it, whether it's in thought, in the word, just kind of getting ready for my day. It might be getting ready for a message that I'm going to give. But I spend my time, I think, not routinely, just any moment I have where I can be silent, even in a conversation like this, where I'm silent with you, I feel God's presence and I'm able to get my brain to calm down. And this is something, again, you're seeing me the way I am now.
Mhm.
To see me the way I was, I know what I was and I know what was coming out of my mouth. So to have my brain quiet down is a miracle. For me to literally be able to sit in silence is one of those things where I just enjoy taking a moment. So my routine would be pause, slow down, have some silent moments, and just enjoy my brain not working,
What was
because it's worked against me for so many years.
what was the hardest part of this work for you? What
Uh,
challenged you the most
for,
as you
forgiveness.
transitioned? Forgiveness.
Yeah, my
Why?
forgiveness of my father,
Okay.
particularly.
Mhm.
That was something that I joked. I'm always a joker. So I joked when I was a kid and hanging a sign. I joked when I was older. And I said, well, I can't forgive. It means I'm not Jesus. So I guess that's it. That rules that out. But truly, the issue that I was having was I didn't really understand forgiveness. I didn't understand what it meant, what it did. I heard all of the wonderful cliches of, well, forgiveness is for you. And if forgiveness is if, you want to give the person poison, but you're drinking it yourself. And I've heard all the things, and none of them did anything for me. And I really had to go into scripture and I looked at Jesus and the last two acts he did before being crucified, while he's up there on the cross. He forgave the people that put him there, and
Mhm.
he forgave the thief next to him that deserved it. And he said, you're going to be with me in paradise. If the last two things that he taught, of all the things that he taught in the Bible, the very last two things, and we look at people all the time, famous people, what's their last words? If
Right.
his last two things were forgiveness, there's something very important to this, and I need to understand it, comprehend it differently, and be able to do it. And I really focused on what forgiveness was and how I can forgive my father for what he did to me when I was younger.
Yeah. So if you were teaching forgiveness, we put our teacher hat on. If you were teaching forgiveness,
Mhm.
what would what would two or three things be that you would tell people to do to start the act of forgiving?
To know that everything in the Bible, everything has action to it. When you look at Jewish words of prayer, of love, these are action words. They're not simply emotions. They're not just an act that you're doing. These are motion. So when you're talking about forgiveness, this is emotion. This is moving. This is not supposed to be just, hey, I'm here and I'm emotionally forgiving yourself. Because to be honest, if I was going to change my emotions or how I'm thinking, I would have done that a long time ago. I would have just felt better. So it's not about acting as though you forgive. It's truly just standing up and making the determination and saying, I do not want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to put myself through this anymore. I am more important than what this person put me as. And pray to God, but look at him and go, God created this. He created all of this.
Mm.
And when he created the entire world, He spoke it into existence. Great. He said a word, boom, the world came. How did he make us? He knit us. That shows intentionality and time. You don't knit quickly. So while he spoke the entire world in existence, he knit us. I'm going, man, God loves me a lot better than I can even imagine. And if he can see that value in me, I can see that in myself. And I don't have to hold this emotion, this pain anymore. And I can release it to him.
Yeah. I love that.
Now it's not easy because there are times that I'm guilty where I do a temporary release. I'm like, oh, let me give it up to God. And I give it to him. I'm like, let me take it back. And I'm like, all right, let me give it to you. I'm going to take it back again. It's not overnight. It takes practice. And that's the other part is there's not a one-time forgiveness. It takes some practice, takes some time. But like you said, the first step, just start. Just recognize how important you are to God. And that's the first start. That's the first step for forgiveness.
Yeah, I love it. I have a couple of different coaches that I work with in my life, and one of them, who's very wise beyond her years, said to me, every time you speak or think about another human, you are speaking or thinking about God. So if you are in a disagreement, an argument, some type of area that you cannot forgive, that means you actually cannot forgive God. Because we're all made from him. We are all stitched together by him, to your point. And that means there is beauty of God in each one of us. And you have to learn how to forgive the humanality behind the beauty of God that he created in somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so powerful, but I love the thing that you said was make the choice that you don't want to feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's step number one. You get to choose. We all get to choose. We have free will, right? So if you want to forgive someone, it's as easy as saying, I don't want to feel this way anymore. That's step number one.
Correct. 100%.
Love that. So good. So good. So Dave, what other little nuggets of wisdom you you have you have many, many years of studying the faith, right? So what else do you feel on your heart, Doug, or that God's giving you right now to talk to the listeners about?
I'll tell you one of the most beautiful things that I learned. And this is something that I think sometimes people catch and other times they kind of gloss over it. I look at the story of Moses being of Jewish descent. Moses is one of the heroes of Judaism. But we all know, hey, he wasn't well in speaking. He didn't want to go and talk for God. God says, okay, I'll bring Aaron to be your mouthpiece because he wasn't comfortable speaking. And he wanted to reject the whole mission because of how he felt about himself.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of me and my dyslexia, but it also reminds me of everybody else there who's suffering with something and going, hey, God's going to challenge you. He's going to push you. He's going to stretch you. But the really cool part is after the mission was done, after the Israelites were then out of Egypt, the sea parted, comes back, they're now safe. What God gives them at that moment is called the Shema. It is the most famous and most important blessing of Jewish faith. And Shema starts with, hear me, O Israel. So he's giving the guy who can't speak, who is stretched, the ability to, hey, listen to me. Don't worry about speaking anymore. You went through your mission. You passed it. Now just listen. And that's something where now, after Moses feels stretched and wants to feel comforted, he's comforted with, I can just listen. And for me I struggled for so long and felt so hard on myself for so long that God is now giving me the rest. And he's coming to me and saying, listen, rest on this right now. And it might be, like I said, it's not linear. It's now a story. Hey, you don't have to explain this by the way of other apologetics. You can explain this by just telling your story, your testimony, talking from your heart. That will always work. So, hey, your brain sometimes doesn't work. I went to Braun. No, what he was saying was go to your heart. And that's that story of Moses, where if somebody is struggling with something right now, God might be stretching you. It's never comfortable. But right after that becomes the victory of hear me, O Israel, and having that comfort knowing that God is right there giving you the reward of the most incredible blessing in the most incredible way.
Yeah, I love that. So good. That's so good. What a conversation today, my friend. What a conversation. I am so blessed to have met you. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you for
Before we
having me. I
close.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So I want to go ahead and if there's anything you want to say to the listeners as far as how they can reach you, how they can connect with you. I know we talked about your books. Those will all be in the show notes as well. So if anybody missed those as we talk through it, we'll have those in the show notes. So is there how can they get in touch with you? How can they learn more of
Yep.
your wisdom?
Easiest way is through my website at drdavidshapiro.org. That's drdavidshapiro.org. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. You can subscribe to a newsletter or you can send me an email.
Awesome. I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. And we will definitely be staying in touch.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all for listening to another episode of Evolve Through God, and we will catch you on the next one.